And welcome in to episode 114 of Out of Your Falcon Mind, Atlanta Falcons fan cast. My name is John, your host, joined by my co-host, my man, Mr. Mike Cordell. What's going on, dude?
I'm hyped, man. I'm just excited, man. I wait all year for this like Christmas, buddy, and it's here. It's showtime. It's go time.
Literally is, man. It's Christmas in July, man. It really is. Like, it's, we've had to struggle through the summer and talk about stupid articles are being written and just a bunch of nonsense, and now we can actually get to some football that matters. And as always, guys, coming to you on the Variety Sports Network. Make sure you check out Variety Sports and what shows they have on there, man. They're growing, so definitely baseball, football, basketball, racing, whatever you like, go check it out. They got a show for you. Also, we are at 699 subscribers. I know we're going to hit 700 at some point tonight, and I told everybody we're going to give away an Out of Your Falcon Mind t-shirt when we hit 700. So I'm going to tell you all at 8:30 because I know some folks are watching Pound for Pound right now, as you should be watching JR.
As you should.
So they're closing down their show now. So, but we're going to give away a shirt at not at 8:30. I'm going to tell y'all how to win the shirt at 8:30. So just hang around for that. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. We appreciate you joining. Actually, you know what? There's somebody brand new, and look at this very first comment, Miss Jackie Galloway.
Miss Jackie, thank you.
Actually, she found us through our guest, who I'm going to go ahead and bring in, Mr. Scott Kennedy. How's it going, buddy?
Mr. Scott Kennedy.
Jacqueline coming in and supporting the show, and I promise you we'll hit 700 tonight. Absolutely promise you. So make sure you're drop a link for your YouTube channel into all of them to make sure you're hitting mine, because we are simulcasting to two of my stations, my YouTube channel, and then Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons on Facebook. So should be lots of new audience, and happy to collaborate with y'all tonight. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Everybody. Yeah, man, we appreciate you. I mean, we don't always get to see, like, I've been able to catch a couple of your live shows recently, but, due to work and whatnot, sometimes I can't always catch it, but I try to catch the replays always, So we really appreciate you coming on, man. But yeah, as I was saying, Miss Jackie just joined, I think she just subscribed today, and she joined on the Facebook group. So yeah, awesome to have her there. And we do have merch.
Guaranteed 700. Scott just guaranteed it.
I'll have to keep track of it.
It's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you.
That's right. So, if you do want to check out some of the merch that we have, it is at bonfire.com/Out of Your Falcon Mind. You will find it there. And that's it. So, and also, Scott, we have some of our other creator friends have a creator kind of meetup thing. It's going to be happening on August 19th, 7:00 at the Taco Mac on Dallas Highway. I'll get you all the details, but if you can make it.
I saw some of that. Man. I think Smitty tagged me in it today.
Yes.
So we'll figure something out. What's nice is, I'm old enough to remember when there was no internet, and when all this started, everybody was kind of at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. It's like, what, we can work together and do better. Instead of trying to divide everybody up. But at the end of the day, we're all how do you say it? Atlians, ATLians, or
there you go, ATLians. Yeah.
We're all ATLians.
That's right. Yeah, no, and it's just that's true. I mean, how we started. I mean, we've reached out to literally almost every creator out there they've been so generous and kind to us. So it's like, hey, this is great. That's how we've been growing. So it's just we try to just return the same to anybody else that wants to come on our show or vice versa. So, but yeah, it's great. But yeah, it's going to be. August 19th, 7 p.m. I put it on our Twitter today, which, by the way, if y'all want to know, it's Out of Your effing mind. I couldn't do the entire Falcon mind because it's too damn long. But so Out of Your effing mind on Twitter, if you want to follow us there. Actually, let's just go say hello. Jalen, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Jalen, what's up? Rise up.
Dirty Fanatics. That's Chase. What's going on, Chase? Make sure y'all check out Chase's channel as well. Art, man, good to see you, dude. Art's going to be there on Thursday, too.
You're damn right, buddy. Let's go.
MacTown, what's up, man? Good to see you, man.
MacTown.
Harry said, I don't really love the whole Rise Up slogan, but that shirt is fire. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, it really is. It really is.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I wondered how long they're going to keep Rise Up, like, especially the down years. I wondered, like, is this?
Yeah.
This is, I don't know. Maybe something different is going to come along. We'll see.
Well, someone of mine said they had a problem with, I called them the birds. I mean, we're not the bird. I'm like, dude, when your hashtag's dirty birds, you're going to have to get over it if we refer to them to the birds every now and then. It happens.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Miss Carrie, what's going on?
Carrie, what's going on? So excited for the show tonight. Look, I'm on time again. Thank you, Carrie, for being on time. No more Walmart runs. I'm on time again. Back to my old ways. Just caught me slipping 1 week. Excited for Scott to be on the show, and we got Scott. Come on, let's go.
That's right. Yep. And we'll get back to the chat. Look, I'm going to be challenged by the hosting duties tonight, so y'all just bear with me in the chat. Scott, let's get to your Falcons fandom, man. So when did it start? When did you become a fan? How'd you become a fan? All that good stuff.
Well, I was moved down here out of the Midwest like everybody else was by my parents, in the late 70s, early 80s when there was a huge migration down here. So I was 5 when I moved to Georgia, and one of my first real memories was the 1980 season, and that was a 12-4 team. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who ended up going to the Super Bowl in the regular season. But in the playoffs, that 12-4 team blew a 14-point lead to the Dallas Cowboys when I was 7 years old. At the time, I didn't realize that was going to be a lifestyle choice for the next 46 years of my existence as an Atlanta Falcons fan. I've worked in media for years and years and years. And one of the phrases is you end up becoming more of a fan of the name on the back of the shirt instead of on the front of the shirt. So, I'm not a diehard like I used to be, but I'm here. I'm in Atlanta, and I'll always be paying attention to everything that's going on with the hometown team, running the Falcons podcast, interacting with everybody here. But I grew up to love the process of team building because, again, that was the only winning season the Falcons had in the 80s. Was that 1980 season. So until I was 18 or 19 years old, I didn't see another winning season until it was Jerry Glanville in those black uniforms.
Yep. Yeah. So who was your favorite player when you first started watching?
Early was probably William Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
And then it probably became, then I was asked earlier today, who's my all-time favorite Atlanta Falcon? I'm like, it was Jesse Tuggle, by far. Just, the true underdog. I think he was a walk-on at Valdosta State.
Yeah.
5'10", undrafted guy, ends up, just becoming, the Hammer, cool nickname as well.
Oh, yeah.
Lives in my neighborhood now. I live in his neighborhood. Let me rephrase. I live in his neighborhood.
And they try to kick me off the show. I'm not going to miss Scott, man. Come on now.
I got to meet him because his son, when I was covering recruiting in Georgia, his son was coming out of Peachtree Ridge, was a pretty good quarterback, Justin. So I got to meet Mr. Tuggle. I got to meet Jesse and awesome. Do some, get to meet him a little bit. So Jesse Tuggle is my all-time favorite Atlanta Falcon.
Oh, I
love it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So when for anybody that doesn't know, Mike and I started watching, we're really paying attention in about 1991. So Mike's from DC. He saw Deion play. That was it for him. Yeah, even though he was in the heart of Redskins country at the time, didn't matter. I'm from Virginia, but my parents moved down here when I was 3. So they were basically telling me, like, my dad was like, you got to make a decision. It's going to be Redskins, it's going to be Falcons. I don't care. And I was kind of teetering. And then right before, I think it was the 92, was it the NFC Championship game, the Falcons and the Redskins. I chose the Falcons. They lost. Kind of like you, Scott. I was like, oh, shit, did I go wrong with this one here? Because this might not. But it's okay. Chose the Falcons, stuck with them ever since.
Those were formative years. You mentioned Deion Sanders. So, again, I was 7 in 1980. We get to 1989, and I still had not seen a winning team with the Atlanta Falcons since that 1980 team. So I became a fan of the draft. The Falcons had the number 1 overall pick in 88. So that was when I really started paying attention to the draft, when they took Andre Bruce, number 1 overall. He had a decent rookie season. And then 1989 comes along. Number 1, Troy Aikman. Number 2, Tony Mandarich. Number 3, Barry Sanders. Number 4, Derek Thomas. Number 5, Deion Sanders. 4 of those guys are in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So I'm 16 years old watching these guys there next year in the NFL, and I'm like, oh my God, this draft stuff is awesome. So, little did I know it's not like that every single year. But formative years. That draft, and you're talking about Deion, in a way, that draft and Deion Sanders helped shape my career for the next, how old am I now? 35 years of my life.
Wild. That's a crazy.
Shout out to Deion, man. He really did change a lot of people's lives. Jordan, what's up? Thank you, Jordan. Good evening, Falcons fam. Excited for this season. Hope everyone is doing well. Much love to all the Falcons content creators. Much love to you, Jordan, for always being positive, always rocking since day one. I love you, buddy.
Appreciate it, Jordan. Yeah, man. Thank you so much, dude.
Scott, I got to ask you a question. Yo, what did the Deion draft due to Georgia? Because I wasn't here. I was still in like DC. Like, what did that do? Was the whole city like? Did y'all know he would be that?
No, nobody did. In fact, I wasn't really paying attention. I know there was some excitement around him, and Deion came on with the Jerry curl and all the gold chains and all this kind of stuff. And I remember, my mom going, "Oh my God, what is this guy? This is, like I said, this is 35 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
And but Tim Worley, I think, is who went number 6 overall. I mentioned those guys, and Tim Worley went to the Steelers and was a running back from the University of Georgia. So Georgia fans have been bitching about Falcons not taking Georgia guys for the beginning of time. So there was probably complaints that they passed over Tim Worley, if I remember back then. So it's funny. I can't remember, people I worked with last year, but I can rip off the top 10 of 1989 draft classes.
That's a real fan.
That means I'm old. It's hard making new memories, man. Fan. That old stuff, though, it's etched in stone.
I love it. Those are the best fans to me because when we win the Super Bowl, which we will win, you will be crying tears. I'll be crying right with you because it's a childhood
that moment
thing.
For me, really, and I don't know that I'll ever be that passionate about it again. Mm-hmm. Just too much has changed in my life, but when I was 25 years old in that 1988, when Morton Anderson kicked the field goal to put Atlanta in the Super Bowl, that was one of the very highs of my sporting existence was that moment right there, beating that 15-1 Vikings.
You dead inside now, Scott?
What now?
You like saying you dead inside now?
Not dead, but I don't care as much as I used to. Now it's about, okay, my kid hitting the home run does a lot more for me than
I got you.
Watching Julio Jones catch a touchdown pass or, 2016 didn't help, but
yeah.
But,
so on that, so y'all know your son's a year older than my son. So, and you told me he was going to be a Falcons fan. So how did he take that Super Bowl? Did he care, or was he?
They went to bed. 2016, they're in bed, and it was like they got up the next morning because my daughter was actually, 2016, she was 5. She was running around like crazy. She doesn't know about the game, but she knows, be excited and have fun. They got up the next morning, so they're 7 and 5 years old. Did we win? I'm like, no. What? What do you mean? I'm like, no, and we haven't really talked about it ever again.
Damn. That's family trauma.
Dude, and honestly, the Steve Sarkisian thing did about as much to me that next year was, I'm like, all right, you're really going to hire this guy. I ran into Sarkisian a few times when I was out in LA as director of scouting. The guy's bad news. He's always bad news. And you're going to hand a number 1 offense to a failed sot, and it didn't go well. Wow. And then he didn't fire him. And that's when they lost the team. That was when that team was gone. That team was done right then. It's like, listen, you made a mistake. Don't double down on it. But that's neither here nor there. That's ancient history. We've got all kinds of good things going on with this team now.
That's right. The reason I asked because my kid was same thing. He went to bed at 28-3. He woke up. Same deal. Did we win? No.
It was 28-3. That was the final. Yay!
He cried. I felt like a terrible father. I was like, shit, dude, you may want to watch somebody else. I'm not sure that. I mean, I want you to be a Falcons fan, but if you choose somebody else, I understand. But he didn't. He's been diehard ever since.
Don't watch sports that much.
Yeah,
what is broadcast TV gonna do when these kids are in their 20s? Because they don't watch TV. The idea of
it's YouTube.
Hey, can you fast forward through this commercial? No, it's on right now. What do you mean it's on right now? Foreign to them.
YouTube.
I mean, the fact that I had to record games on VHS and then record over those games on VHS. All the time just to see. I mean,
everything has been on demand for them for their entire lives.
Yep.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Wallace, what's up, man? What's going on?
Good to see you, bud.
Harry, what's going on?
Yeah, man. So that is from hexheadart.com. And I'm trying like hell to get a sponsorship from Hexhead because everybody loves it. And it'll actually change colors. I can make it red, blue, green, whatever, man. And then actually that one is as well, the same thing, but I don't have lights on that one, but it's good. Carrie said I recently subscribed to Scott's channel after watching him do a show with Smitty. Enjoys
Smitty!
Thank you, Carrie. Smitty's good people.
Let's go, Sean. That's right, buddy.
Sean,
Let's go. All right. So, before we get into some of the news today, man, Scott, what was free agency, the draft? Like, start with free agency. Kind of, what did you think? Were you happy? Any kind of surprises for you that we picked up?
Free agency, I was ecstatic. Ecstatic. I had been preaching doom and gloom for the last 2 seasons, knowing that this team was so handicapped with dead cap money that they're going out there with one leg and one arm tied behind their back, trying to compete with 60% of a roster. Yep. Those of y'all who've seen me before, know I like to use the joke that they're going out there with Grady Jarrett, AJ Terrell, and a bunch of cast-offs from the Bears and Titans and trying to compete. And they still won 7 games. Okay, so let's see what happens now that you've learned how to compete on a shoestring budget. Take that scouting and that frugality, and let's take it where we can shop a couple of tiers up and get some players in. So going and getting a guy like Jesse Bates was a big ticket item, but then getting maybe sneaky good free agents like Caden Ellis, David Onyemata from the Saints. Meanwhile, you weren't forced to go and try and get a bunch of players on offense because your offensive line came around so amazingly over the last 12 months. I mean, where did Caleb McGarry come from? We were all ready to ship him out before last season.
We were killing him.
And Drew Dahlman finished the year strong. After struggling early last year, you had to replace your left guard. Okay, well, you can figure that out. That's not too hard. But I think the entire offense is homegrown right now, if I'm not mistaken. When's the last time that has really even happened for a team? And then to go out and spend and get good players on defense, you're excited. You're excited to see these guys have been putting a defense together. God bless Dean Peace for being able to do anything with Grady Jarrett, AJ Terrell, and duct tape in order to just try and slow people down and keep a game close so Younghoe Koo could kick a field goal and win the thing. That I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this team can do with actual professional. No offense to the guys that were there, but a lot of them don't have jobs right now.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. They were on 1-year contracts, and I mean, if they performed well, they may have came back. If they didn't, then they weren't. And that was just sum total of it.
Scott, I gotta ask you, are you? Because it has been a while. It's been a while since we've been good like this, or we've been hyped like this. Are you hyped to a realistic? It's still the Falcons. I'm not going to jump off the book. Or are you out of your Falcon mind right now?
I don't get too high or too low with it anymore, man. I just don't. It's the way it is. I've been through too many ups and downs with teams that in another 10 years and after, you've had your kids and stuff and all this stuff, that I don't get too emotionally charged by the games like I used to. Plus that I'm a freaking curse, man. The Atlanta Braves are playing as well as they've ever played, and that's saying something. Every time I turn them on, they give up like 4 runs.
Damn it, Scott.
I'll go watch The Mandalorian or something and watch the box score. I distance myself from it a little bit. Plus now that I'm working, because I always worked on the college side of things. My career was high school football recruiting and college football analyst. That now that I'm professionally involved with the NFL, it changes the way you view things a little bit. You try and take your blinders off, which isn't that hard as growing up a Falcons fan, because it's not like I was growing up trash talking people all the time.
Right.
Except maybe the Saints.
Yeah.
Of course.
There you go.
Well, to backtrack a little bit, so how did you get into, all Falcons? Like, how did that all come about? Just to kind of go back to your.
That's a long story. How I started doing All Falcons and the Falcons podcast was the latter part, last 10 years of my professional career, I was building networks for other people. So whether it was Scout 24/7 for Sports Illustrated, and I was kind of like the construction guy. Once the house was built, they didn't need me anymore. So I'm like, you know what? I need to build my own thing. So I got back into content, and I'm having a blast doing it. So I really started getting into my YouTube page, about a year and a half ago, and it's knocking on the door of 4,000 subscribers, and I haven't really hit it hard. But I've kind of just been kicking around. Do I like doing this? Do I like doing this? And I keep doing enough of everything to make a living, and I'm having fun doing it.
What's the most fun, Scott? Out of all
this is doing podcast, doing live chats with the fans and everything is by far the most fun thing. And sometimes I'm kind of moody. I don't know about y'all, but you don't feel like getting up. I don't want to be up. I don't want to be on. It's like working out.
Yeah.
I don't want to work out. And then when you do, you feel great. Like, why is it so hard to get up for stuff that makes you feel great? And it's so easy to do stuff that makes you feel like crap. That total insanity.
I love it.
Yep. Absolutely. What's going on, Kira?
Hey,
good to see you, Kiki.
Mom, what's going on?
Make sure you check her out on One Time for the Fan.
Please, we love you.
Yeah, Harry Marshall said William Andrews stuff. Yeah, that's my dad was my dad's guy too. He loved him.
He had a son here, and he had a son here named Mike Andrews. It was in one of my first classes, like 03 or 04 when I started doing this. So I got to meet a lot of the former Falcons because they all had kids coming through the North Metro area.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I think Sean Bailey, Stacey Bailey's son, was class of 04 or 05, maybe. Stacey's great dude. Got to work some camps with Terrence Mathis. Awesome guy.
Yeah, Terrence Mathis.
Yep. Awesome guy. And then what's to make you feel old now is the guys that you covered have now retired or they're in media, like Harry Douglas, 155-pound skinny kid down at Jonesboro High School who could fly, but he was undersized. So he goes to Louisville. He didn't have the big offers, but those little guys get bigger and he could always run fast. So, guys like that, Calvin Johnson was in one of my first classes and he's way retired now. You're like, good Lord. Guys I covered are having kids of their own. You're like, all right, I'm getting old.
Yeah, I hear you, dude. Nacho, what's going on, man?
Nacho.
Man, Lisa, what's going on?
Lisa, what's up, Lisa?
Lisa joined us y'all seen this show last week. Go check it out. Lisa was fantastic. She's a writer for Blog and Dirty, and she killed it. She was amazing. Kendra.
Good to see
you. Been a bit.
I ain't seen you in a minute.
You got the Falcons ladies on your channel, guys.
We love them. Uncle Steve.
Gotta be Mike. It's gotta be Mike.
Brother
Uncle
Kennedy
Steve, what's going on?
that was the only game, the 1980 Dallas playoff in my life that I actually shed real tears over a Falcons loss. Albeit I was 11 at the time.
I was 7.
Man, I wish I would have seen it now.
I was 7 at the time, and I ended up being kind of if you're a Falcons fan, you kind of had to choose another team to root for because the Falcons wouldn't be playing past Thanksgiving, So I ended up being, who's one of my all-time favorite players was Tony Dorsett. The Cowboys and the Raiders were on TV every week, every single week. The Cowboys would have the early game and the Raiders would have the late game. So I ended up kind of rooting for the Cowboys. Curse them too. They lose 3 straight NFC championship games after that. But that was one of my, like I said, that's one of my first memories, and little did I know it was going to be like that for a while.
Yep, sure was.
But you hung in there, Scott, and that's what's important.
That's right.
Lisa says Deion, Prime and Vick brought a lot of fans to the Falcons. So again, working in sports media, I've gotten to, not to name drop, but I've gotten to meet a lot of these guys, and I've done some work with Michael Vick, and I got to tell him, you're the first person in my life that made being a Falcons fan cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. It was cool. Deion was one thing, but Vick was a different phenomena. Being the quarterback is better than being, even as big as primetime was, he still wasn't Michael Vick, the quarterback, the most exciting man in football with the ball in his hands 50 times a game. Michael Vick made it cool to be a Falcons fan for the first time in that franchise's history. Thank you, Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the freaking Michael Vick experience, for God's sake.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That was
we love
crazy.
You, buddy.
Yeah, dude. All right, so it is 8:30. I told y'all I would tell you what you can do to win the Out of Your Falcon Mind t-shirt. So if you watch the show for a while, you may know this. If not, it is posted on Twitter. You can find it if you go search in the media somewhere. If you because I posted, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago. If you know it offhand, then it's a little creepy, but it's okay.
You should know it offhand.
I don't know. So, number one, you have the first person that emails us at atlfalconfancast@gmail.com will win whatever t-shirt you want. Just got to tell me what you want. But what is Mike's dream car? He did a whole segment.
You remember we did a whole thing about it.
A whole segment on it.
You remember? We did a whole thing and we posted it. We clipped it. We posted it. It was even a hashtag. We even did a hashtag. I don't
Yeah.
want to say too much.
Oh,
I've
about the only
already
thing
said
I know
enough.
these days are sports and cars and kids movies. I could probably narrow it down. I don't know.
I don't
but
know,
like a
man.
true dream car or like a realistic dream car?
Oh, realistic. Very realistic.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
realistic.
You an SUV guy?
No.
Okay.
No. It is a foreign car, though. So we'll get a
Yes.
little hint there. But yeah, first person to email us, and if we get an email on the show, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But at ATL Falcon Fancast email.com. Go ahead and send it, and you can get a shirt. And yeah, so anyway, back to the Falcons. Scott, drafting Bijan, what did you think, man? Who did you want? Were you upset, pissed off, happy? What?
No, I was really upset the last 2 years, though. And no
Even
offense to
with
Kyle
Kyle Pitts?
Pitts, no offense to Drake London, but that team wasn't ready to take advantage of receivers. I was like, and what made me madder than anything about that Kyle Pitts pick was the national narrative around it of, oh, this is a win now move. This is a win now move. I'm like, their offensive line is atrocious.
Yeah,
Their defense can't stop anybody. How are you going to stop Julio Jones? Because it wasn't out yet that Julio Jones wanted to leave. How are you going to stop Julio Jones, Kyle Pitts, and Calvin Ridley? Easy. I'm going to sack Matt Ryan 65 times a season.
Yep.
That's how. And then you still have a Swiss cheese defense. So my fear taking him when you're passing over a quarterback was that it's really expensive to get a franchise quarterback. Now, and if they hit on Desmond Ridder, that's hitting the lottery. If you get a franchise guy in the third round, that's priceless. You can't count on that. So you know how expensive it is to try and get up into the top 10 if you're not in the top 10 to get a quarterback, and there's a couple that were staring you in the face in that draft. My fear was you'd run through 2 years of his contract, still not have the quarterback situation settled. Sounds familiar. And people are talking about, hey, Kyle Pitts is, he's been kind of disappointing. This team wasn't ready to use Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
they weren't ready to use Drake London. They might be now. But the thing about that is, on the long term, and that's what general managers have to try and think of. On the long term, Drake London turned 22 yesterday. Kyle Pitts is still 22 years old. Bijan Robinson is 21 years old. You've got an owner that will keep these guys in. We mentioned if you're, I use it as an age check. If you're complaining about Arthur Blank, you're probably younger than 35 years old. You didn't have to live through Rankin Smith when you knew as soon as they had a guy that was going to be any good, Deion Sanders was going to take off. They weren't going to pay the guy.
Nope.
Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson for the next 6 to 8 years. Okay, I can get behind that. Now you asked me about Bijan. I am the general manager, analytic, mathematical type 2, and I'm looking for positional value a little bit more, knowing that I probably would have gone Jalen Carter if you hadn't shown me a rap sheet on him that shows me, okay, this is why you're not drafting him, which we're not privy to. We don't know that, so I'm willing to say we don't know all that. But I probably would have gone Jalen Carter in that spot, knowing that he's really, really good in a position of value at defensive tackle like that. But trying to sell Bijan Robinson was pretty easy. This is a team that he's arguably the best player in the draft, and a team that will know how to get the best out of a running back and is set up to use him with the offensive line as good as it is. And I just bought a bunch of defensive players, and there just wasn't an edge there. There wasn't a corner there. There wasn't a wide receiver there that would have made sense taking in that spot. If you didn't like Jalen Carter, Christian Gonzalez fell. Will Levis goes into the second round. I'm not going to reach for a quarterback. You got the best player in the draft, maybe. Okay, I can live with that.
Yep. Yeah, those are our thoughts too. I kind of wanted Jalen, and then as just like you said, I mean, when the stuff came out about him, and I started thinking, you know what, maybe, like you said, we don't have access to any of the documents that the team does, obviously, so we don't know what kind of behind the scenes thing they talked to him about or whatever. But if they thought that he wasn't 100% into football, then I'm not taking a chance. We had a guy that wasn't 100% into football, and that didn't work out too well.
Guaranteed.
So, yeah. So, and the fact, he may need to get some distance between Athens and,
And Philly's in a position where they were drafting for a luxury.
Absolutely.
Philly could afford to take a big risk, big reward on a guy like that. And you know what? If we miss on it, we'll be all right. The Falcons couldn't afford that. Their roster's not strong enough where they could be taking flyers on number 8 overall.
That's very true.
And what I mentioned about, I wasn't thrilled about the Kyle Pitts pick. It had nothing to do with Kyle Pitts. I wasn't thrilled with the Drake London pick. It had nothing to do with Drake London. But if you keep stacking good players, forget everything else, you'll be all right. There's a saying in coaching circles. It's not guys you miss that kill you. It's guys that you get that can't play that kill you. So, okay, would you have been better off with Jamar Chase? Maybe. It's arguable. Most people would probably say, yeah, you'd rather have Jamar Chase than Kyle Pitts. Missing on not taking Jamar Chase isn't going to kill you if Kyle Pitts ends up being really, really good, which he is. That's fine. Drake London, Garrett Wilson. I don't care. Drake London can play. Garrett Wilson can play. Give me either one of them, and I'm okay with that. Bijan Robinson should be an instant star in this league. Should be.
Yeah.
Now I gotta ask you, Scott. Do you feel like we could use those 3 people, Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, on a scale of 1 to 10? How sure are you that we could use them now?
How effective can they be used with Drake? With Bijan Robinson's at 10.
Scott, I'm out of my Falcon mind. I like when you talk like that because I'm thinking Super Bowl. But go ahead.
Positive, you can use Bijan Robinson. Positive.
He said, okay.
Now, you still have questions around the quarterback position, but Desmond Ridder was able to get the ball to Drake London last year. Kyle Pitts was battling a little bit of an injury, and then he got hurt, and he was triple teamed. Well, why has he only scored 2 touchdowns? I broke down a play his rookie season against Matt Ryan was quarterback who could throw the ball. They're going against the 49ers. They tried to run the ball, got stuffed. His 1st and goal from the 8. Run the ball, stuffed. 3rd down and 6, goal line.
I remember
they rushed 2 guys, 2 ends, and dropped 9 into coverage, including 3 guys on Kyle Pitts. And those 2 guys got to Matt Ryan. We always say, if I can get pressure with a 4-man front, I'm pretty dangerous. What does it say when I can get it with 2?
2, yep.
So
and I could drop 9 in the coverage.
I like this offensive line. I like the variety of weapons, so you cannot focus completely on one guy or the other because, you know what? I'm going to drop Cordell Patterson in the slot and get him the ball. I'm going to move Bijan Robinson to the slot. I got Drake London out here in a one-on-one with a 5'11 corner. I'm just going to throw it up. So Kyle Pitts will be opened up more. And I don't think this is a huge statement. Desmond Ridder is going to be a better passer than Marcus Mariota.
What?
Okay. Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
I know I'm out on the limb with that, but I feel good in saying that. He could be a more efficient passer than Mariota was. Did y'all know? Because I didn't until last week. I looked it up to see where they were ranked. The Falcons had the number 15 scoring offense last year. Did you realize that?
It's crazy, 15. Isn't it?
I wouldn't have thought that. Yeah.
They were a field goal away from top 10. So it was like 21.9, 24.9 puts them in the top 10.
Oh,
man. And they just went and bought 7 defensive players. Do I think this team can be pretty good? Yes, I do.
Agreed.
See, I like it. I love it, Scott.
Yeah. And John here says, does Troy Anderson take the next step? Scott, what do you say about Troy Anderson, buddy?
I hope so. I know there's some, appreciate the question, John. There's some thoughts of, do you need a Foye Oluokun in here? Do you need a Rashaan Evans in here? Rashaan Evans did some good work. Or is Troy, because Caden Ellis is pretty raw too when we're talking. So he played 11 games last year. They're athletic as hell. Troy Anderson's arguably one of the best athletic specimens at his position in the entire league. And a guy that can win player of the year, conference player of the year on offense and defense. I don't care if he's D3 or D2. That screams football player to me. I loved him at the Senior Bowl. I love his athleticism. Keep it simple for him. Just keep it simple. Just wind him up. Go get ball. Water boy him. I see the ball carrier. I tackle him. That's it. Let him go. And I'm hoping so. But him and Caden Ellis, I think that's a little bit of a concern on the defense. But when you're concerned with uber athletic guys being out of position maybe because they're overrunning stuff as opposed to veterans who aren't good enough to get there in the first place,
I'll
take that. I'll gamble on the upside.
Yeah, actually, I picked Troy as my I guess not surprised, but like, he definitely going to take the next step this year because, I mean, he's a smart kid. We know that coming out of Montana, played multiple positions, quarterback, running back,
multiple positions.
He's got, I mean, to me last year, it just looked like the game needed to slow down from him. He was just kind of all over the place, like he was like just shot out of a cannon.
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, he knew one speed, and that was it. He was going to go 100 miles an hour to whatever that was, So I think now, like I said, slow down a little bit, see how things go. But yeah, I could definitely see him.
People are talking about, they should bring back Rashaan Evans. Well, they can. He's still out there. If I was worried, if I'm worried about it, if I'm Ryan Nielsen and I'm worried about it, I could go get that guy.
Yeah,
they don't seem to be too worried. That's kind of the thing about Desmond Ridder. Y'all were talking about it on the top of the show, talking about having to write a bunch of these nonsense articles and stuff, talking about this stuff. The disrespect shown to Desmond Ridder has been unbelievable.
My goodness.
It's been a little crazy just how disrespected he's been for a guy that hasn't really. Okay, he's unproven. Okay, then why do you hate him so much?
Yeah,
why are you so sure he can't play?
Yeah.
Would you have this team as low as you did if Taylor Heineke was a quarterback? A proven veteran who's done some good things, who they don't want to play ahead of Desmond Ridder? Is that because they're just stubborn?
Well,
or because Desmond Ridder might be decent?
And like you said yesterday, I think, or Monday, I'm sorry, on your show. Was that yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. How different would the narrative been if he was drafted in the first round?
Yeah.
It'd have been like
the same player.
Where Will Levis was, because when I was doing mocks, I was taking Ridder with that second round pick a lot. When we were doing mocks last year, I was like, okay, we're going through the draft worked out where there were like 7 really good players that I liked, and the Falcons were picking 8. See what I mean about being a cynic? That's just the way it works. The number 3 in 2021 gets 3 first-round picks traded for him. Where are the Falcons picking? 4. Yep. Yes, we know. It's just the way it is, man. So when we were doing those mock drafts and that second-round pick, who did they take with the second-round pick last year? Troy Anderson, okay. And then I was taking Ridder with that pick a lot, because I was down at the Senior Bowl and got to watch all them play. I'm like, I like this guy better than – and that was strange because all the quarterbacks were there when a lot of times they're not. With that COVID year and stuff, all of the top quarterbacks were there. Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, kid from Vegas, I forgot his name, had the bad knee. He was there. They were all there. Desmond Ridder. And, the question I got coming out was, what'd you think? And I was like, well, I'm sure more than ever, I don't want any of them in the first round. But I was still surprised to see how they fell. But I took Desmond Ridder in the second a lot. Like I said, how are people so sure? Well, there's questions around Desmond. There are questions, but why do you feel like you've got the answer that he can't play? Because that's been the narrative all year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. We do have hang on, Mike. We got a winner. Miss Lisa Shepard won the T-shirt.
Oh, she knew the answer?
BMW i8.
I love you, Lisa. Thank you.
BMW
i8.
So, Lisa, if you're still in here, email me again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Your address and what shirt you want and what size to send. I will get that out to you. So, thank you.
That's awesome. And the rest of y'all, shame on y'all for not knowing that. I'm blocking y'all on all platforms.
I won't forget it. I promise you that. I can't remember my son's phone number, but I remember what car you were talking about.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, Scott, I got a good one for you. We already know Grady Jarrett is good, and we know Kyle Pitts is good. But I feel like we don't – like Grady is almost always double. Kyle Pitts, as you said, you sometimes triple team. This year, they won't be able to double Grady as much. There's – Kyle Pitts will see a lot of single coverage. How much better do you think those two players will be than we've seen?
I think Ray is in here on coming on Facebook talking about Kyle Pitts. Everyone talks like Pitts isn't doing this, but he almost broke a rookie record. Kyle Pitts is really good. Yeah. He can be a lot better, be more efficient. He had 1,000 yards on a ton of targets and 1 touchdown. He can have less targets, more yards, and definitely more touchdowns because he's not even tripled. You mentioned Grady in there. I'll never forget. I've got it bookmarked. I've got like 2 things bookmarked on my Twitter account. And one of them is Grady Jarrett was mic'd up. I don't remember who he was going against, but he was like, he got triple teamed. And Grady comes out. He's like, damn, y'all don't have anybody else to block? No,
No, they don't.
They really don't.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody else to block. You're it. Well, you put 3 guys on them. You're going to turn David Onyemata close. You're in loose. You're going to let Calais Campbell come off the edge. Arnold Ebiketie, you want to leave him one-on-one. He can get there now.
Agree.
And the revelation for me, I think the most improved player, I think the easy one to say was Caleb McGarry. But the sleeper pick for me last year was Taquan Graham. Taquan Graham, as a rookie, was overmatched. He didn't need to be there. There were 3 of those guys that were thrown out there like that. It was Taquan Graham, Ade Ogundeji, and Jalen Mayfield. All 3 of them struggled mightily. Jalen Mayfield was hurt last year and didn't play. Ade Ogundeji might just be out of his depth. Taquan Graham was good.
Yes.
He was good. You come back, and we're starting to be, it can be one of 4 or 5 guys you have to start. There might not be anybody that gets 10 sacks on this team. But there might be 7 guys with 6 sacks. And Grady Jarrett will be one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. And we said the same
Scott
thing.
will tell you that he's here, but Scott is out of his Falcon mind. Scott ain't had a negative thing to say. Yeah, I fucking love him. I love him. He's out of his
Grady Jarrett is one of my favorite. Again, the underdog factor, a little too short, falls to the 5th. You know, there's a relationship there with Jesse Tuggle.
Sure is.
Grady Jarrett he's a Falcon legend. You know, when he's done, you just put his jersey up in the rafters.
100%. And on to some of the news from today. So Caleb Huntley was put on the PUP list, which is y'all know is a physically unable to perform list, and then he was
waived.
Waived, not too much after that.
Huntley was waived.
They put him on the PUP list, and then they waived him.
Thank you, Caleb.
I was reading Josh Kendall said it wasn't even related to the Achilles. It was some other physical failed test that was happening. I mean, I figured it was just because he just couldn't play this year.
We get into these discussions about injuries, and muscle injuries follow ligaments and tendon tears like remoras on sharks.
Oh, dude.
Just because you're not able to beat that stuff up. So it's like, oh, he had a setback after rehabbing from his knee injury. Yeah, he tweaked a hammy, or he strained a calf. Stuff like that happens all the time. But I was reading through, I think Michael Rothstein, ESPN, did out a 53-man roster, and he had 4 running backs on there. I'm like, I don't even remember who the 4th one was. I didn't even commit it in memory because I'm like, they only had 2 active in week 1 last year.
Right.
And they've got 3 now.
Yep.
So Caleb Huntley was going to be challenged to be put on the 53 no matter what, because you've got 3 running backs already. One of them is an X factor in Cordell Patterson, but that's fine. I only need 5 or 6 carries from my number 3 anyway. That's all I want from Cordell Patterson. 10 touches a game.
That's it.
And so I think, seeing Caleb Huntley waived, it was a matter of if not when, because to get put on a practice squad, you have to get waived anyway. So we may not have seen the last of Caleb Huntley until he's fully healthy. I would be monitoring him if I was another team and I needed a running back. Like, hey, come in here and work out for us, dude.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just that's just a tough, and Achilles is a tough one to come back from anybody, but especially a running back, especially one that, dude, that guy is explosive as hell. And he's also obviously tough as hell because he stayed in the game and picked up a blitz in the next play with a freaking torn Achilles. So, but that was shout out to him for that. And everybody can relax. We signed Michael Pruitt to a 1-year deal, which we'll get into him in a little bit, talking about how this offense is going to shape up. But I really like that move, though. I really like him. I really like he's coming back. Calais was placed on a non-football injury list. He was there at camp today. He spoke to the media. I'm assuming, don't know. He's older. He's been through several camps. Don't know that he really needs to be out there just yet. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's anything serious, so we'll just cross our fingers on that. Did y'all see Big Boy and Vick are collaborating, looks like, on a hype video, which hopefully should be better than last year's. So last year's was pretty much not good.
Samuel Jackson had the best one. But
the hype video for me last year was, y'all be patient. Be patient. This team is awful, and their schedule is tough. Be patient, because Arthur Smith can coach.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Trevon Diggs signed a 5-year, $97 million deal with the Cowboys, which can go up to $104 million. Which I'm saying that because AJ is going to be getting paid relatively soon. That's probably where he's going to start. I'd imagine right around $19 million a year is where he's going to be, because that makes, I think Trevon was the 5th highest paid corner, I believe, with that deal. So yeah, that should be interesting. And then of course they came out with the uniform schedule. We're going to have the red helmets 3 games again this year, which I wish they just make it kind of a permanent thing. So I just love them so much. But
that's my favorite helmet.
Yeah, but they'll be back this year. So, yeah, that's good to see there. But and actually, I don't know, man. Scott, what was your favorite uniform that we've had so far?
I don't know. As bad as they were in the 80s, I do like the 70s black uniforms with the red helmets going back.
That's the one I like.
Those look pretty tight, but I like again, the formative ages, the retro old but cool of the 80s with the red helmets and the red and white jerseys. I wasn't a Georgia fan, but still like the way those looked coming in. So, and the thing is, it's like yeah, there we go. I was like, that's the Tommy Nobis jerseys. Yeah. Those are pretty sweet. But I do like the red. I grew up with Falcons was red. Everybody else is black, man.
Yeah, that's the one I like that.
You like the red on red?
Yeah.
I do like the red on red.
Me too. This is courtesy of
big deal out of it. You probably got your alert set on Twitter for Atlanta Falcons official tweets, and they put out like during the week of the red uniforms, they put out like 10 a day. Oh, it's almost red. We was like, guys, we like it. Why don't you just change it? Everybody likes this. Just change it. We're not going to agree on much, but one of the things we're going to agree on is
the
we
red.
like the red. You're going to get like 90% approval rate on that one.
Did you like the gray pants?
What was so tough watching the Falcons be bad when they were trying to be passing teams is look at that man on the right. Even when they were bad in the 80s, they had William Andrews and Gerald Riggs, and then they go to John Settle, who becomes the first undrafted free agent to rush for 1,000 yards. It's like at least you knew the Falcons were going to go out there and hit somebody in the mouth, and then to see them, not was really disheartening.
Yep, and this was Mike and I's. I think this is why I like the old Falcon logo just so much better, because this is when we started watching it. But
you grew up,
yeah. I can't believe they selected Jeff George in this picture. Why the hell would you do that?
That was the best you could do with Jeff George.
That
was a dick.
Right, that was the time, man.
Yeah, I like the white. I mean, the white and the red looks good with the black helmet too.
Yeah,
it's a good look. And I didn't really love these, to be honest with you.
Nope, I don't think anybody wants to see those come back. And I don't like the black jerseys with the black pants. I don't like that at all.
No,
me neither. I don't like that. It's boring.
I like
Matty Ice
somewhere.
I love the red.
Did y'all like do you like the color rush the Hoopers were in there?
I don't know why I didn't like that. I don't like all red.
I don't want the pants to be the same color as the.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Except whites. The whites work okay with the stripes. Those are away uniforms. I can live with that. There was a question we were just to go back to. Damien comes in and asks, he says, will Patterson be happy with 10 touches per game? And Damien, I say this because Cordell Patterson runs the ball like he's returning kickoffs, like everything he's trying to break loose. And if you remember Damian Williams, when I mentioned they only took 2 active running backs in week 1, and Damian Williams gets hurt on his first carry. So it was just down to Cordell Patterson. He had like 25 touches in that first game. He can't last that way. So 10 touches a game, if I'm giving him 5 carries and I'm getting him 5 catches, he's going to be used more effectively, more efficiently, and he's going to be a true X factor. Now, I wanted to look that up because he had 144 rushing attempts and he had 21 receptions. So that's 165 touches. That comes out to about, say it with me, 10 per game. Well, he would have had more if he hadn't gotten injured. Aha! That's true. But if you give him more than that, he's going to get hurt.
He's going to get injured.
He's an older guy who never learned how to protect himself running the ball as a running back. And he can't handle that because he runs like his hair is on fire. So 10 touches per game is ideal for Cordell Patterson.
And I agree with that because he's saying touches and not carries. He'll be happy with if he can catch that ball sometimes.
Right.
He's electricity. If you tell him, I'm going to throw you some passes and you're going to get some swing routes or he going to get to throw or do anything, he'll be fine. Believe me. He wants to preserve himself. He want to be there at the end of the season like everybody else. He'll be fine. He's still electricity on the sideline or in the game. Trust me. He'll be.
He was probably one of the happiest.
I wish he had come to Atlanta sooner. It's not easy to be. I mean, do you remember the difference between when Mike Smith, who was the running back 2 years ago? It was Mike Smith.
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis, thank you.
Yeah.
Mike Davis from Stevenson High School comes in, big grin, and by week 10, he was just a broken man.
Oh, yeah. Just a blocker.
Yeah. Every time he touches the ball, he's got 3 guys hitting him in the backfield. It was just a broken man, like worst season of my life. And Cordell Patterson's able to come out there and does everything with this megawatt smile.
Yep.
I mean, just lights the place up. I'm like, that's not easy. And then F the money. This is where I want to be.
Yep.
It's not easy. We haven't had that in Atlanta.
No.
We haven't had guys like that in Atlanta. And it's a special thing when they behave like that.
Yeah.
When they want to be here, because this hasn't been the easiest franchise to play for my Falcondom.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Yeah. And I mean, he would have been, I would think he'd be one of the happiest guys in the world when we drafted Bijan. Being like, hell yeah, I can stay healthy the entire year. I can be you guys saw it. Like, I mean, at the end of the last season, late in the games, when he wasn't hurt, I mean, he would wear down. He wasn't moving at the same speed as he was early in the season. So yeah, he should be preserved a lot better. He should be
the number 2 receiver, really, like in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And not the number 2. I mean, the number 1 receiver, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, 1-1A. And again, I don't want to pigeonhole these guys into positions because they're going to be lining up all over the place.
Yep.
I envisioned yesterday was talking about it. I can actually see, as big as Drake London is, if it's like 3rd and 3 and you come out in a dime package, moving Drake London and Kyle Pitts in as tight ends.
Yeah.
Put their hands down and running over a defensive back right in front of you. So these guys are going to be lining up all over the place. So touches are the key words for me, not necessarily carries.
Scott, I got to ask you this because this is really important to me. We've seen, because we can argue talent. It's some people that say, man, we overhyped with the players we got. They not as great as we saying they are. I could care less. But what I'm saying is, how do you feel about the new attitude that our players seem to have? Because you like Drake is a tough guy. Like, he caught some passes in traffic. Cordell is not running out of bounds. He's gonna try to run you over. Right. Tyler, I seen him carry 3 people on his back, like a bowling ball with legs. Troy Anderson will take your head off if you get caught in crosshairs. How do you feel about the new attitude? Because we used to run out of bounds. We were called soft. Like, we were the soft team. The team, if I'm gonna get hit, I'm dropping this. I don't want. Oh no. How do you feel about the team being a lot more tough and being viewed like that and playing like that? And who do you think we got that from?
I think it started with the head coach, with Arthur Smith being a former offensive lineman and coming in and being a physical team and everything he's wanted to do. And I'm old enough to remember, watching these teams in the league cycle through. We're big, we're small and fast. We're big again.
Okay. Yeah.
It was small and fast. No, big and fast always plays. You give me a Julio Jones and a Calvin Johnson, they always play. But everybody's getting a little bit smaller and a little bit faster. So, okay, the offenses are going a little bit more smash mouth. And the Falcons were able to, even without a great passing game, they were able to line up and run the ball against anybody last year.
Yep.
And now they should be able to pass the ball a little bit better too. And it should be a more balanced offense. I think it comes down from your head coach. I think a lot of that, Mike, I think it's a great question, has to do with you had a lot of guys on 1-year deals.
Yeah, I got you.
Out of necessity, you had to have guys that were fighting for their NFL lives because they were rescued off a practice squad. They had already been cut earlier this year. So the challenge for Arthur Smith is, can he do better with the expectations, with a higher level of player who's making enough money to say, you know what, I'll take this week off because you're getting fired. Which happens. These guys quit on you. I've got a contract. I've already made $20 million. Can you win with those guys? And I think they've established a culture and surrounded themselves with the right guys that they've kept, the Chris Lindstroms of the world, Grady Jarrett's of the world. It's been very, very, very particular which veterans they have kept around.
Yeah, the captain.
I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah.
That's not an accident. You know, Deion Jones was a good player for a long time. He's gone.
Yep.
You know, Julio gone. Matt Ryan's old. You know, Julio was old. I get all that stuff, but there's been some decent players. There's like, no, go ahead, move on. You're not buying in, and you know, we need the buy-in here. So they preach culture. They wouldn't let you say rebuild there.
Yeah.
They'd never say it, even though the whole world knew it was a rebuild. They never let anybody have any excuses. They never once complained about the salary cap.
Yep.
And Dean Pease came out last year, and remember when he was asked about it, said we're gonna change the way we do things around here.
Yeah.
You know, this daggum defense has been what, top 10 once in 25 years. That's going to change.
Yep.
So I think it starts at Arthur Smith, and him and Terry Fontenot work together hand in hand. They're not boss and subordinate. They both report right to president of football. But I think that's an Arthur Smith thing, a former offensive lineman.
Scott give good ass answers. I mean, ESPN, call Scott. You got the look. Come on, man. Scott for ESPN.
Hey, another PR. PR had a guess for you for your car.
Oh,
He gets to you go.
Come on, man. Come on, man. BMW. Shout out to Lisa for knowing that. Millie Mills.
What's up, little man? Yeah. So that just segues us perfectly into the topic of expectations on Arthur this year and the coaching staff. Good article by Josh Kendall on The Athletic yesterday talking about, and basically was just will more Falcons chess pieces mean more scoring in year 3 under Arthur Smith? Because Arthur's referred to players as chess pieces before, more than one occasion. He did it when he first was hired by Arthur Blank, and then just recently talking about it. And even when they were talking to Drake said, you're not going to know where any of us are. You're going to have to try to find us. You're going to have to go out there and play our style of ball, which is aggressive and physical. And that's kind of echoing some of the guy, like he talked today in the media. He said, him and other receivers have been out there working with Dez and the entire offseason. Kyle's been out there the last couple times. Obviously he's still trying to get his knee, or was trying to get his knee right. So not doing anything stupid, trying to go out there and make dumb cuts and whatnot. But so, yeah, I mean, basically, Scott, when you're talking about the guys that, drafting Kyle, drafting Drake, at the points that we did, number 4, number 5, now Bijan, number 7, these type of players that, I mean, obviously offensive weapons, but you look at what Arthur could possibly do with them, and you kind of see now, kind of like, okay, you can kind of go back and look and say, like, okay, I kind of understand now. Like, I get why these guys were drafted when they were, because it wasn't for that season. It was for kind of like now and then going forward in these next few years. Now, like you said, hopefully Dez is the guy and we can really put together.
Right. That's the question.
That's the question.
Is, are you okay at quarterback? If not, you've got 2 top 10 picks at receiver that you still can't use.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's the worry when you made those picks.
Right. And, and the good thing is, and I think most everybody agrees, like we've put so much talent around him. Like literally, I mean, like you said, we had a number 15 offense with Marcus for the majority of the year, which is pretty insane. So, I mean, just the fact that, and I see a lot of folks saying, like, hey, Kyle's got to have a great year. He's got to prove that number 4 pick. To me, I don't really care so much about the numbers, because we watched Julio be a, whatever you want to call it, a decoy for however many years in the red zone, because you never get the ball. That was always a complaint, right? Never get the ball in the red zone.
I have a theory on that, by the way.
Okay, tell me that in a second.
I'm down to hear this, yeah.
But like we just talked about a second ago, McCole Pruitt, right? So now if he's back in the fray here of the by the way, very deep tight end room, which may be spelled the end for our boy Felipe Franks. He may be out the door this year. If he's not, I have no idea what's going on. Like I really have no clue. But it has to be. But regardless, obviously, look, Desmond had a great rapport with Michael. He scored 4 touchdowns in the 4 games that we were here last year. So, I mean, just another guy that can be used in this offense to where you can have a 2 tight end set with Jonnu and McCole Pruitt and Kyle still on the field somewhere else. Like there's just so many different combinations that he can pull off with these guys that we have. That's going to create just headache after headache for any defensive coordinator out there.
I think one of the mistakes that the national media, even Falcons fans or fantasy fans make right now is to try and judge an Arthur Smith offense based on what they've seen the last 2 years.
Right.
Because he's getting by with what they could. And with Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley wasn't hardly even there. Your number one receiver that year is Russell Gage, for goodness sakes, and Kyle Pitts, a rookie, and a hobbled Matt Ryan and an offensive line that was pretty bad. Caleb McGarry hadn't played well. Jalen Mayfield was god awful through no fault of his own. He shouldn't have been out there. I think Matt Hennessy was at center. He wasn't all that good either. Jake Matthews has been nice and steady, but the offensive line was terrible. And I think Arthur Smith even came out and said a couple weeks ago, Matt Ryan was here just 2 years ago, and he wouldn't recognize a lot of the things we do now.
Yeah.
So fast forward a year, and you got Marcus Mariota limited at quarterback. The offensive line improved dramatically, but you're not sure of that the first 6 weeks of the season. Your number one is a rookie, Kyle Pitts, and then a rookie, and Kyle Pitts is hobbled a little bit, and then he's gone. But now you should be able to go out there with what is arguably the best offensive line in the NFL, top 5 unit. I think most people would agree on that. And then if I line up there, let's say I got a 2-minute drill at the end of the half, and I line up there, I got Tyler Algier in the backfield. You mentioned him earlier, carrying guys around. He was like that in college. It's not a mistake that I think he was the number 2 guy for yards after contact in the NCAA.
Oh, wow.
That's a translatable stat. That's one of the few that moves forward. He's a guy that likes contact and breaks tackles. I can go Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Cordell Patterson, and Bijan Robinson in a slot in my 4 wide receiver single back offense. That's dangerous. Now I can run at you. I can do all kinds of things, but I've got options. So I'm not going to prejudge an Arthur Smith offense. Well, what good does it have in a wide receiver if he's just going to run the ball 70%? Man, he was trying to kill games last year. Let's limit the possessions, keep it close. See if we can get down to the fourth quarter and kick a field goal and maybe win a 17-15 game. They were just trying to survive the last 2 years. I think it's going to be very, very, very different.
Great point.
You're going to see more balance. You're going to see more vertical in the game. And you're going to see the ball spread around a lot more. Because
you can't, like you said, and I don't think folks should worry too much about the individual numbers of whether it's Kyle or Drake, whoever. As long as we're winning and we're scoring points, I don't care. I don't care how many touchdowns he has. I don't care how many catches he has. I think that'll all just kind of come naturally with the offense because, as Damian says here, he said you need 2 dominant wide receivers really to use Pitt successfully. I don't know about 2 dominant ones. I just think.
How many teams have had 2 dominant wide receivers and a number 1 tight end? There's only so many guys you can double. On the field. You can talk about who the dominant tight ends are, and do they have 2 dominant wide receivers? Do they have a number 1? I got to go back to the days with the Cowboys.
I was going to say the Cowboys
and the 49ers dynasties, where they had Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin, and I don't remember, wasn't Novacek.
Jay Novacek.
Jay Novacek.
Was it Novacek that played with those guys? And then you go back to the 49ers dynasties with John Taylor and Jerry Rice and whoever, Dwight Clark was a receiver, but whoever's playing tight. Brent Jones, I think, was playing tight end with them at the time.
Brent Jones. Damn.
You can do it. I can move Bijan into the slot. And if I get him the ball against any defensive back at 235 pounds, good luck. Good luck. He's got 6 yards just through forward momentum.
And then one thing, Tyler,
there's weapons out there. Is there a legit? I saw a big Twitter conversation about this team's not serious. Mac Hollins is your number 2 wide receiver. I'm like, fine, look at a depth chart. I don't care. At the end of the game, let's sort by number of receptions and yards, and let's see where Mac Hollins ranks. If he's higher than 5th, I'll be shocked.
I've said it before on the show. I could care less who wide receiver 2 is on the depth chart. It doesn't matter to me because it's going to be so interchangeable throughout the year. You're going to see Bijan lined up out there. You're going to see Kyle. You're going to see CP. And what you said about Tyler too. Tyler caught the ball a lot in college as well. they used him a lot on the backfield, which he can also catch. So that's another thing that people forget, that just because Tyler's out there in whatever package doesn't mean it's going to be a run. They could absolutely that could be a pass play, and that makes it even tougher. And that's the whole positionless football that Arthur wants to play. And we've heard it over and over again. We talked about it, a couple of shows ago. I love it because it's something that's so you just imagine if you're the defensive coordinator trying to figure this out. Okay, how do I bracket this? How do I stop this guy if I'm trying to double this guy? There's so many things that can go wrong. And Arthur is just trying to find space. He's just trying to create space on the field and get one of the guys open. And you saw that last year, even like I said, with Pruitt last year, with the touch. Well, actually, with the Desmond Ridder throw in the end zone too. I can't remember who it was. Dude was wide open.
Yeah.
Like he fooled the hell out of. I can't remember. I think it was the Tampa Bay game or it was the Arizona game. But you can see some of those types of plays already that he's ran that's been successful. And he's first year was shaky. I thought still called it. He did the best he could with what he had. I thought he made a good improvement last year on his play calling. I expect him, just like the players, taking another step this year, especially with the amount of who we have now. As I expect him that just to be ramped up even another notch. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I mean, and as far as the defense goes, Scott, what do you anticipate?
Wait, John, hold on. Before we get in
there,
I want to hear his theory on why Julio wasn't getting them touchdowns.
Yeah.
Not going past that.
So,
why wasn't he, Scott?
Unfortunately, Julio was used like a running back. You'd see there wasn't a ton of, most of his targets weren't way down the field. There were some, obviously, but a lot of times it was 3-step drop, slip screen.
Yeah.
And then he's working. It'd be 6 carries for 75 yards.
Yeah.
You get into the red zone and he's on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Because that you used him up to get him down there.
I got you. Okay.
That was part of it for me. It was like they used him as an extension of the running game. And it's like, how many times did you just not say he was a decoy? But how many other times do you say, why isn't Julio on the field?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude! How many third downs? How many
do you remember
downs?
that? Well, that's why.
Would he be off?
That's why he had
third downs.
He had 6 carries for 60 yards on the drive to get down there.
Yeah,
and that ain't easy as a wide receiver. So they overused him and did not use him efficiently and effectively, and he was just one of the most physically gifted players ever step on a football field. Yeah. Putting a pin in the you need 2 dominant wide receivers to use Kyle Pitts effectively. I'd still disagree with that. And Damien comes in and he mentions a really good trio was Julio Jones, Roddy White, and Tony Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. Use that same logic and just switch the names out. Yeah. You have to have 2 dominant wide receivers to use Tony Gonzalez effectively. No. Hell no.
No.
Tony Gonzalez is a beast.
Tony Gonzalez
was always going to be a beast.
Yeah.
Roddy White was really good. Julio Jones was really good. All of those guys individually were terrific players. They didn't need each other to be terrific players. The fact that all 3 of them were out there was pretty special. But Tony Gonzalez didn't need Roddy White and Julio Jones in order to be used effectively. He was a Hall of Famer before he came to Atlanta.
Oh, big time. And Millie said, I'm sorry, Bijan has to prove it to me. Everything looks good in college, and I believe he can do it.
Man,
but then
do this every show.
But hey, I'm rooting for him, though. See, Millie, and I'll say this, Millie, man. Like, I was late. I was late to the party on the Bijan. Like, I was against drafting a running back that high. And then I dived into the film, and I was like, this guy is different. Like, this is different. This is not something that just, your typical running backs. I mean, the spaces he would get himself out of was not something that you see every Saturday or even Sunday, to be honest with you, with some running backs. So, I mean, we could all be wrong, man, but I don't see his skill set not translating because it's just
it's probably the easiest position that translates from one level to the next.
Right.
Is the running back. Running backs are born, they're not developed. And the thing is in order to justify that pick, because of what you're saying, because you're giving up the financial value of taking a wide receiver, a top 10 wide receiver is going to be making $20 million. A top 10 running back is going to be making 7 or 8. So
that's
you lose
businessman Scott. I lose
the financial benefits of having a draft pick when you take a running back there. Same with a safety, a non-positional value. It's one of the reasons why you wait. But that's okay. So I really think in 4 years, you're probably going to need about 6,000 yards from scrimmage and 45 touchdowns to justify that pick.
Yeah, agreed. Kinder said, man, this show's getting me more hype for the season.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm telling you.
Let's go.
Said, Troy is much better than Rashawn. Hopefully he will be. I wouldn't say that yet.
They're
very different.
Troy's going to make many more splash plays. His sideline to sideline ability, his speed, his athleticism is 10 times better. Now you just need him to do the blue collar work.
Yeah. I mean,
Rashawn just do a job.
Rashawn was kind of a throwback, kind of just thumper type of linebacker. He's not great in coverage, but he's going to come up and hit you. Very sound tackler, all that good stuff. But yeah, they're very different for sure. One time, what's going on, Jack?
One time.
Hey man, we'll see you guys on Thursday. I don't know if you and Bodie are both going, but I know we'll be down there, man.
Scott, so here's what I want to do, man. I just want to do a random session in the show that even John wasn't privy to. It's called Scott Coming In Hot, okay? That's the Scott Coming In Hot. Scott, I'm just going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions. I need you to give me a short, succinct Scout type of answer, all right? So here's where we're going to go. Scott, how good was Barry Sanders?
He was a magician. He was Houdini. One of the best pure running backs to ever lace him up.
Love it. Scott.
Agreed.
If you had to cook something for all of us to eat, what does Scott cooking the best? What does Scott, you are sure we would like?
Chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, chocolate chip cookies. Look, you heard from Scott. You got to bring him to training camp now. Scott, who was the hardest hitter you've seen in your entire time when you was preview? I'm talking about from a child now. Who's the hardest hitter who was taking people's heads off who you've seen?
Oh, I mean, you go to the NFL, you think, Steve Atwater immediately comes to mind. Ronnie Lott comes to mind. But from at that level, there was a guy down in Florida, ended up playing for the Florida Gators, named Major Wright. I think he ended up getting a cup of coffee with the Chicago Bears. Actually, on my channel somewhere, maybe it was a previous iteration of YouTube before Google bought them. I've got a greatest hits video out there somewhere. And Major Wright was making tackles with pulling guards. So a pulling guard would come up. He'd come in from his safety position and hit that pulling guard so hard that he'd knock the running back out of bounds.
Man, I'm Googling this right. Yeah.
Major Wright is probably the hardest hitter. Another guy, Troup County, went to Alabama. Oh, what the hell was his name? And I think he got in some trouble in the NFL. And I can't remember his name now. But he concussed himself enough times that he was such a hard hitter. And then the best defensive player I remember really ever seeing was a kid named Trey Blackman out of LaGrange High School. He was 205 pounds and ran like a deer and was just an absolute maniac. So some names most of y'all have never heard of, but
I love it. But here's why I'm asking you. Speaking of people that people have never heard of, Scott, I got one for you. Tell the people, because I want, in your opinion, it was Joe Montana. He leaves, he goes to the Chiefs. Steve Young has to step in. Was there drop off, or did Steve step right in? Was Steve that good, or was that the team? How do you feel about that?
I think Joe was different. But again, I'm very loyal in my opinions. So it's going to be really hard if you got to knock out the champ. So, you can't get a draw against a champ. You got to beat him. Mm-hmm. And for me, Joe Montana was first for me. And when he goes in there and he's 3 or 4 MVPs, and it was just one of those things you just knew. If Joe Montana has the ball with 2 minutes left it was over.
Yeah.
So he would be my number one quarterback of all time would be Joe Montana. But Steve Young was really, really good. The scrambling ability, and Joe was a hell of a runner until he got older. People forget that. But he wasn't the type of runner that Steve Young was. And those guys would have played another 7-8 years with the rules as they are 100%. Today.
Yeah. I love it. Scott, I got to ask you, if everybody you ever known was in one room, who would you be trying to find the most, and who would you want to talk to the most? Everybody
I've ever known
that you've ever known is in a room, man. Who would you be looking for?
I'd go find my wife.
That's a great, what an answer. What a great answer.
That's a great answer.
She gets me. She gets me. I had a friend of mine, a younger kid I was kind of mentoring, was talking about something like, oh no, I don't want anybody smarter than me. I'm like, no, are you joking? Never underestimate not having to explain your jokes to the value of a relationship. You'll think you'll say something funny and the person will be like, what? Huh? You're like, never mind.
I love it. Scott, what do you say to the people that have dragged us all across saying that we just are not serious, that we have not made the moves. We don't look serious. They got all this stuff to say about us. What is your opinion on that? What do you say to those folks?
I would just say wait and see. I would say that giving away, this team wasn't in the position to give away 3 first-round picks and $200 million to a quarterback. You're just dooming the player, and y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You're a guy that wasn't even available and was never going to be available. Lamar Jackson.
Available. Yep.
This team wasn't ready to do that. You'd be dooming him to failure and me dooming this franchise to failure. That was really ridiculous, that narrative that they needed to be – somehow they owed it to Lamar Jackson to go after him. Instead, build a quarterback-proof team like the 49ers have done.
Yeah.
And I think the Falcons are in step 2 of doing that. They've got the offensive pieces in place. Now they need to continue to build. They really need that dominant edge. That's the guy I think this team's missing. And then some of the new faces have to come together. But I would say you don't have the answer on Desmond Ridder. Nobody does. Let's wait and see.
Scott coming in hot. Scott, I got 2 more for you. Scott, I got a good one for you. Speaking of a missing piece, Scott, all your Falcon fandom through your whole life, I'm just give you this one. You can get any former Falcon you want. You don't got to worry about the age or the year or the price tag, but you can get any player from a former Falcon. You can bring him back at the peak of his talent to help this team this season, one season. Who are you bringing back? It could be from your childhood. It could be anybody you want, a former Falcon to help this specific team.
My goodness. I think, again, the pass rush for the Falcons, I don't remember Claude Humphrey that well.
Okay.
But, I would want to go, Jonathan Abraham might be a good shout. What is this team really missing? Might be a dominant pass rusher. And in lieu of that, you could say prime Matt Ryan or Michael Vick. Would be pretty good shouts. But the surest thing might be Deion Sanders opposite A.J. Terrell. Oh! And then I can turn those guys loose up front knowing I've got the backside covered.
Nah. Scott is a thinking man. I love it. Scott, one last one. Scott coming in hot. Scott, what are you most grateful for in all of the world, buddy?
Health of my kids.
The health of
that's what I'm thankful for. That's what I pray for every night. And just let them be healthy and happy.
I love it. Scott coming in hot out of your Falcon mind. Let's go.
Here's one for you, Scott. Lisa said, how do you think Arthur Smith will leverage all of our offensive weapons? Any concerns that Smith will overthink things or he'll be okay?
Great question.
Offensive linemen are typically known for overthinking it.
You showed it a few times.
Your default, Lisa, is body blow, chin shot. Yeah. So what I mean by that is run, beat the guys up in front of you, bring those safeties in, bring those defensive backs in, get them thinking run, and then go over the top. Find my single coverage with my twin towers and find different ways to loosen them up where I can then hit the long shot. You may only get 21, 22, 23 passes, but I think you can get 250 yards out of them instead of, in the Matt and Ryan days, we might see 35 to 40 completions to get 300 yards.
Yeah, yep.
I think you'll see a much more efficient offense out there, Lisa. So, no, I don't think an offensive lineman's going to overthink it. Like I said earlier in the show, he tried to make the passing game work sometimes and with Mariota, and every single game, even going down 17-0 or whatever it was to the Bengals, he hit the F it button. I'm going to run it down your damn throat.
Yeah, yep.
And he did. They did.
Yeah.
They could just dictate. Now let's picture being able to throw the ball a little bit too, and this Falcons offense is going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, and one thing that gets sometimes overlooked too is the complexity, I think, of the offense. Because Lindstrom even kind of alluded to it today at the press conference with the players. He said, he mentioned about how Dez's communication was so good, it took him, because they kept saying last year, Dez wasn't ready to step in. That's the reason they said.
Where was this team going last year?
I know, dude. We wanted to see him way earlier than he did.
We wanted to see him, and it's like, okay, then you know what you've got, and do you know you need to go into the offseason and get a quarterback? But maybe they know, maybe they do,
right?
We feel good with what we've got at quarterback, and we're not going to rush him out there for a team that's not going anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But just the fact, and London said the same thing. I mean, the fact that Dez has a full year now. So all of this, like all the language, everything is just kind of coming to him second nature now. So like that's huge. I mean, just knowing when he goes to the line, what checks he can, what his checks are. Is he going to call it and check into the right play, check out the wrong play, whatever it may be. Like all that stuff is huge this year. And that's, I mean, and we said it, I don't know how many times on the show, like we know Dez has got it from the neck up, right? And that's one of the most important things for a quarterback to have is he's got to be smart. He's got to be able to read and comprehend what he's seeing and really, understand it. So that's what gives me confidence about it. I mean, I think, the arm talent has gotten better, so like, I'm not so worried about that. I think he'll be fine with the weapons we've given him. And
y'all saying we going undefeated and like we're going to win the Super Bowl. That's
exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
And
that's what I was getting from.
I want to say hello real quick to Michael Ranquillo, who came in just a few minutes ago. He is a dedicated Denver Broncos fan, but supports all of our channels. By coming in here and saying hello and giving us some love on social afterwards. So Michael Ranquillo, one of the good ones, thank you for being here. Floyd, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you too.
I'm out of my Falcon mind.
Love it. Go ahead, and if you're not subscribed, just go ahead and do that while you're in here. So yeah, real quick, before we go on the last topic here, Scott, on the defense, expectations of Nielsen, or what are they? With combination of Jerry Gray there. Obviously, a lot of turnover. We got a lot of new guys, like good. I mean, for a good reason. Obviously, new guys on pretty much every level. So, we looking at, what do you think? Top 10, top 15? What's a good possibility?
I would think, coming from the bottom fifth year after year, even if you can work your way up to mediocre, this should be a playoff team. Right. So, if you can knock on the door of top 15, the fact that they put up, God, what is it, 39 sacks in 2 years is unbelievable, considering the Philadelphia Eagles threw up 70 last year. So I'd like to see that number. I'd like to see them in the 40 sack range. And as crazy that would put them middle of the pack in the NFL and would be more than they've had the last 2 years combined. That's how
work your way to mediocre. That hurt a little bit, Scott.
That's the truth, though. I call it statistically improbable how bad this pass rush has been. It's been unbelievable.
It's almost have to try not to sack people.
Means numbers from 2021.
Stephen Means,
he hit the quarterback like twice all year as a starter at edge, and it was in the same game. Like, how do you not have somebody in front of you at least blow an assignment and you get a free shot? That happens every game.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see pressure coming from more angles. You're going to see more athleticism out there. You're going to see more plays. You're going to see a defense that can help the offense instead of just try and survive. John, talking about the scheme, I think what they try to do in New Orleans was bring pressure from different angles. I mentioned earlier in the show that you might not see a guy hit double-digit sacks, but you might see 6 or 7 guys that are 5+, and that would be just fine. You never know where they're coming from, and you can't really focus on one guy.
That's awesome. Damien said my dad played for the Falcons. That's awesome, dude.
Oh, Damien! Shout out to your dad, man.
Yeah,
just a little bit before my time, so I didn't really get to see Jim Mitchell. So I hope he's doing well. I know what this game does to people long term, so I hope he's healthy and happy too.
Yep.
Jim said all-time Falcon to fit this team right now is Jesse Tuggle.
Yeah.
He's my favorite, but I don't think he's the one that helps this team the most, especially in this day and age. He's my all-time favorite Atlanta Falcon, but this team, I think you're okay on offense, that you would be better off finding a way to generate more pressure, and the way to generate more pressure might be on the back end. You throw Deion Sanders out there, all of a sudden I can forget about one guy on the field. Put him on your number one, and it's over. And the special teams that he brings, you lost your punt returner and Avery Williams. The special teams that he brings, all of a sudden Lorenzo Carter and Arnold Ebiketie, Caden Ellis rushing the passer, they just got 10 points on your Madden score because Deion Sanders is in the backfield with Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell.
God, that'd be so nasty. God,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah. No, that's one of the things I'm most excited about this year, just watching the defense improve. I mean, just seeing, like you already talked about how Grady was so, pissed off about not having anybody else to go after. I mean, like, that's the thing. That won't happen this year because you're gonna have Onyemata and Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell and Taquan Graham and possibly Eddie Goldman, coming off the not playing for a couple of years, So I mean, he may be reinvigorated and ready to go. Who knows? Regardless, we're gonna be so much deeper on the line. And we're deeper in the back end as well. So I just don't know how you don't make I think that, like you said, I think, middle is very, very doable, in the best case scenario, maybe even higher than 15, who knows? But I mean, we'll see, man. It'll be fun to watch, but I can't wait. Hey, Peep Goated, man. Hey, appreciate you checking it out.
Thank
man.
you, buddy.
First time watching the stream live. Appreciate you, dude. Jim said, ladies and gentlemen, the time is upon us now. Name the Falcons defense. I'm pulling for Chris Blitz too. Let's come up with something. Love to come up with something for sure, man. And Pete Goodis, what do you think about the camp battle at linebacker? I think it's kind of we kind of know who they're going to be. It's just a matter of kind of how they're. I think it's going to be a big year for Michael Walker. Not necessarily like statistically wise, but I think he's played a few different positions at linebacker now. He's played at will. He's played middle. I think he's even played a little bit at Sam. So he's been kind of all over the place, and he didn't necessarily excel when he had the green dot on his helmet. So I think this year with maybe a more defined role, you might see the best out of him this year. I hope we do. I mean, that's another guy we, the late round draft pick, we could really get a lot out of. We're hoping that Troy becomes that just stud middle linebacker. I'm assuming that, we all hope that he is. Caden Ellis, like you said, going to be coming off the edge a lot of times probably. So I don't know. And then, the other was Dorian Etheridge and Nate Lehman, I think, are the two guys that are going to be in there kind of fighting for roster spots. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take on it.
All Dorian does is rack up 15 tackles a game in the preseason. He's a guy I've been rooting for every time. I was like, how is he not making the team?
Sure does.
So hopefully it clicks for him one of these days. I've been rooting for him because he goes out there in the preseason and is typically the leading tackler every preseason. But he's still getting a check. This is his third year, I think, in the NFL. So he's still making a living. God bless him.
Sure is. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the show here, guys. We're going to close it out with if y'all are new to our show, we do some fun things. We'll do like an underrated, overrated segment. We may pull something out of it. Could be Falcons related. It could be having nothing to do at all with the Falcons, and we do the same thing with in or out. So basically, we have something that you either be in or out on, and you can elaborate on it, or you can just leave it. You can just leave it as you're in or you're out, and that's fine either way. Mike, you want to start off? You want me to go, buddy?
I will start it off because my first in or out is a question to Scott and also everybody in the chat, because what my answer is. I don't even have to say it. If you have 2 minutes in the game, you need to score a touchdown. You have to drive 80 yards. You need a touchdown. A field goal won't work. Are you taking Tom Brady to do it? Are you taking Joe Montana to do it? Are you taking John Elway to do it? Or are you taking Matt Ryan? Now, I don't need to answer the question because I'm taking. If he was in a wheelchair, paraplegic, blind, I'm taking my man Matty Ice. To me, like no huddle offense, I've seen this man do it 100 times. But John Elway was also legit at doing that. So was Joe Montana, and you seen Tom Brady do it 100 times. I'm taking Matt Ryan. Who y'all taking? You need to score a touchdown. You got 2 minutes.
I'm a Matt Ryan apologist because of all the hate he gets, but I have a question. How many times did he score touchdowns? He went and got game-winning field goals. He never
did
really
do that.
got the team into the end zone as often. 2 minutes in the line, I already said Joe Montana for me.
Joe Montana, see? Johnny Yates.
I mean, so you said Matty. I'll say John Elway because he was
John Elway.
Yeah. He was something different too. At the time, he ran at a time that there wasn't a whole lot of running quarterbacks at all.
That sacrificed his body. He was
a damn rifle for a arm.
How old was John Elway when he won his first one in 1997?
Oh, I know.
I love John Elway, man.
Probably 34 years old.
34, 35, something like that. Yeah,
Joe Montana was winning those things for a long time. All right. I mean, for me, the answer would either be flip a coin. There's not a wrong answer there, but Montana or Brady, I think, would be the most common answers there.
I love it. Johnny Yates, go.
So Pete Goated this actually goes right into my in or out. D. Alford will win and keep the nickel position all season long. In or out, Mike?
I'm out. Clark Phillips coming for him.
Scott?
We'll see. I don't know. I like
You're
the
out.
competition right now. I'm in on the competition.
No, I'm in on
Right.
competition.
Haven't had.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm in on the depth, which is spectacular. To be
Right.
having that conversation.
It's amazing.
Instead of wondering, what is Fabian Moreau doing over there on the opposite
Yeah.
side, running out of bounds when they're running his direction?
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah. So Pete Goddard, yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. I kind of see Clark coming after that position.
Yeah.
Depending on how quickly he picks things up, rookie, it takes him a little bit to acclimate, but yeah, I mean, dude's a football player. We'll see. Mike, back to you, buddy.
I got one. I got a question. Again, I want to know, are y'all in or out? I just thought about this, and I don't know if this is possible, if people do this. Have you ever had, because like if you grill your food, but it's always in the nighttime or in the afternoon. Have you ever had grilled breakfast? Is like that a thing? Grilled breakfast sandwich or grilled whatever?
So let me tell you, our boy Jay in the truck on our last show commented and said underrated was grilled PB&Js. I've never had a grilled PB&J in my life.
Grill that?
I think a griddle. You'd put that on a griddle. On a sandwich.
Maybe even the air fryer, possibly. I don't know. But
put it on a sandwich maker and squash it.
Okay,
I don't know. I do griddle all the time because going back to what would you make? I can make you waffles. I can make you breakfast. I can make you waffles and pancakes. But
hey, man, when we win the Super Bowl, Scott cooking breakfast, buddy. I love it. Yeah, I just wanted to know, would you in or out on breakfast on the grill? I just wanted to try that one time. It would probably be good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't grill that. I was vegetarian
you,
a bunch of years back, so unfortunately, it's just kind of a height of irony. I'm really good on the grill, and I only grilled like during special occasions now.
That's awesome.
Paul said he was taking Montana, and then Millie Mills said Brady because the league was rigged for him, so it's a guaranteed win.
Millie is insane. I knew he was. I love it.
And again, picture Joe Montana in today's game.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Where you're not allowed to touch him, where they change a rule if you get hit. It's just Montana would have played till he was 45 too.
Why are you so high on Joe? Like, what was it about Joe? Because you saw a lot of
couldn't beat him. Man. You just flat out couldn't beat him. He again, there was never any feeling of any doubt at all the outcome of the game if he had the ball in his hands. And that is, to me, the greatest compliment you can ever pay a player.
Yeah. Joe was a good leader and everything. Like, he was a good leader for the team. Yeah.
He just, he was surrounded by good talent and a good system, but he could get the ball away quickly. He could find the weaknesses in a defense. And again, he was called Joe Cool for a reason.
Yeah.
He was unflappable. If I needed one throw to be made, I wanted it to be him.
Joe Montana, you gotta love it.
Tyler, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. It's all right. It's all good. You always catch it, man. Tyler says Clark Phillips is about to do work. I am pumped about that kid. Yeah, man. I think a lot of folks are for sure. All right, my next one. In or out, a safety will lead this team in interceptions this year.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, corner. It shouldn't be a corner anyway. If AJ Terrell's doing his job, he shouldn't get the ball thrown at him.
Yeah. Very true. He shouldn't even get it thrown.
I think it should always be a safety.
Real quick, your pick or your take on Jeff Okudah. What you expect?
Low risk, high reward. Love the move. Detroit's picking up half the tab on it, for goodness sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the competition, we've got him penciled in there at the starting corner. Should we? Right. I don't know that that's set in stone. The only one, the only one for me there's two guys set in stone back there. It's AJ and Jesse. I think the other one, there's going to be competition all year for those other two spots in the secondary.
It was cool too. AJ, I saw earlier on their presser today too. AJ was talking about having Jeff there, and they were drafted in the same class, and that he saw when they were in high school, he was number one rated. Okudah was number one rated corner.
Oh, that's cool.
In the nation, and so like he said, he always, of course, like he said, they have a special little competition, just like they push each other because they're
that's awesome.
Yeah, because he said, I mean, his words were like, because there's a lot to prove. Like I think AJ still feels like he has a lot to prove, even though he's had some great couple of years.
Yeah,
I still feel like that kind of has a chip on his shoulder too, because he wasn't drafted maybe as high as you wanted to be, and then Jeff obviously being drafted, what was he, 3?
Yeah, he was number 3 overall. And,
Smith,
I think Okudah is the number 2 cornerback also. And again, I would love for him to have a Caleb McGarry year. He was disappointing his first 3 years. Didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. He's playing his 4th year as a pending free agent. Go get an eight-figure contract, kid. Go get $15 million.
Yeah,
that would be a very, very good problem to have. Oh, how are the Falcons going to keep Outta and AJ Terrell? That would be a good problem to have.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yep. Speaking of a good problem, I got an NR. Oh, he said a grilled P&J is a grilled cheese. Way doing it is a. Oh, you mean like a grilled?
Just do it the same way, yeah.
Squash it.
He's saying. All right. Well, I got one. Waffle House at night. I got Bobby. You crazy?
That's become a thing for me and my son coming back from baseball games.
Dude, it really is. It really has. My son loves it.
So I got one for all y'all. Are y'all in or out that if Desmond does struggle, Taylor can step in and do the job just fine? I'm in.
I think Desmond's got a long leash, and if he's pulled, he's done. That would be the end of it, and the Falcons will be in the market for a quarterback in 2024.
Yeah, I agree. If he get pulled, he get done. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Yeah, I like Taylor. I like what he's made of. I think he's a smart kid. Yeah, I think he can do the job if need be. I don't think that will happen, but I agree. I think that's a good case. In or out, Bijan will lead the team in touchdowns.
I'm in.
It's a tough one.
I'm going. Yeah, I'm in.
I'm in
because I think he'll touch it. He's gonna catch. He's gonna run. Yeah.
He made double number 2. That's how confident I feel about that.
Yeah. He just
really said teams are going to try Outta early though. It just has
You're
to
right,
show
man.
up. Yeah, definitely going to try him. Yeah.
So I got one last one.
Quarterback throwing for 35 touchdowns again.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Going to be Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one last one.
And Bijan could have 6 touchdowns receiving too.
Very well.
That's what I'm saying. And man, I would love to see him at receiver. I want to see him on the damn punt return, to be honest. I do. I want to see him everywhere. I heard so many good things. I heard he could do anything. He could block, he could run, I want to see this. So I got one last one. Y'all in or out? Deion Sanders was the only true shutdown corner there ever was. I'm in.
I'm out.
Oh, Scott said, Scott, who else? He said it so fast.
He's the best coverage guy in the history of this game, as far as I'm concerned. But it doesn't make him the only shutdown corner to ever play the game.
Scott, you got to tell
Dale Revis.
I mean,
Champ Bailey.
Who was the argument with at that time that Deion Sanders was number 1? Do you remember?
Champ Bailey?
Rod Woodson.
No, Rod Woodson.
Oh, yeah.
Rod Woodson.
Yeah.
And I'll take
Rod
Champ
Woodson
too.
Yeah, I'll take Champ.
And I'll take Champ too as a shutdown guy, and keep an eye on the kid over in Denver, Patrick Surtain, also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving forward. But no, he was the best. If I got you were talking about one throw to make, it's Joe Montana. I got one guy to cover. Now there's a story. First meeting in Dallas, they're going coverage this, coverage that, and Deion, could be an urban legend, but it's probably true. Deion says, "Oh, stop." He walks up to the whiteboard and circles the guy on the receiver. He says, "I got him." Walks back and sits down. That's all you need to know.
Damn.
I don't need anything else. I got this guy. You guys figure out what you're going to do with the other 10.
Yeah. Prime time. We love
it. We will end it with this. In or out, the Falcons will have 10 or more wins this year.
I'm in.
In your gut.
Like
in your gut.
7.
Scott said he's not hesitate, Scott, but you saying 10, like 10, 11, 12, or you saying 13,
I'm
14?
10 and 7 right now. So if you're going to say 10 or more and I say 10, I better say I'm in.
There you go. I know you're in, Mike. 17 right?
Undefeated, buddy. I'm 17, undefeated, Super Bowl. I'm not going no less than 17, buddy.
No, I went through it yesterday morning on my show, and I was like, okay, I see 8 and 9 being on the table. I really can. If Desmond Ridder struggles and you've got some of these road games, 8 and 9 is on the table.
Scott,
I can't picture 7 and 10. But as I went through it, I still came up with 10 and 7.
Yeah.
Can you see 12, Scott?
Yes.
Just in your yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think 8 is the floor, and I think the ceiling is probably 12.
Oh, love it.
You know what? You know, man, I mean, honestly, like I don't remember this much positivity around the preseason of a Falcons season in a long ass time, like a long time, even before 16.
It helps when the absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know if y'all were Falcons fans, but you're not from here. If you were Braves fans too,
100%.
and the Braves fans would have higher attendance in the regular season than they would in 2001 playoff game. Like, oh, the Braves, they don't care about this. Like, no, we're just tired of watching them go and stink it up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to watch college football. It's like we had the second best attendance in Major League Baseball, but we know they're going to kick the ball around and swing and look like amateurs in the playoffs. We'll watch college football down here in the South instead.
Mm-hmm.
Then they are out for a while. And as soon as they come back in, oh man, the city's lit up, and it was like all that stuff was forgotten. So the Falcons were really good for a nice stretch, but they haven't been good in 5 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even leading into
this year,
16.
6-5, and people are excited. Hey, they got a chance to be good again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
and
exciting.
like I said, oh, dude, it's man. And like I said, even before 16, I mean, 15 was a little shaky with Shanahan's offense. And you remember Matt saying, like, when we figure this out, we're going to be unbeatable. I remember him saying that on the sideline. And this happened. They figured it out in 16, and it was, but nobody really, we didn't know what was going into it. And we're still, even with all the uncertainty around it, I think it's just, I mean, like Mike said earlier in the show, man, the attitude change, the culture change, everything about it, the players that we have, the coaching staff that we have, the kind of just, gritty, get after it type of guys. Like, that's just what we've been wanting. That's what we've been needing for so long, man. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a great showing. That the training camp's going to be awesome. I think there's going to be a lot of folks out there, what there should be. So yeah, we're going to have some fun, man. So anybody that comes on Thursday, make sure the three of us will be there. So come find us. Say, hey, we'll be out there. And sweating with 95-degree or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. It's gonna be hot as hell. So bring water and coolers and all good stuff. But Scott, dude, thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Well, I appreciate you having me. And
we gotta do it again.
Nice meeting some of y'all in the chat. So appreciate you hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, man. Same for anybody that watches Scott normally that's over here from his channel. Man, appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, if you like our show, come on back and watch us. We're typically, just so you guys know, we do a preview show during the season. It's going to be on Thursday because my kids' baseball practice. I just found out it's going to be on Wednesday, so we're moving our Wednesday show to Thursday. It's all
I do morning shows.
Hey, good call. Yeah. So the Scott knows baseball schedule is insane. So we, it always changes. So Thursday is going to be our preview show for that week going into Sunday. And then we're going to have the recap show either after the game on Sunday, again, depending on baseball, or it'll be on Monday, possibly Tuesday at the latest. So, but we'll have 2 shows a week, possibly a third pop-up show, depending on just what the Falcons news is. Something crazy happens, free agency, you never know, or a free agent signing, who knows what. But we always want to keep the content coming. And then, again, Scott, we'll have you back on, man, at some point. We got to for sure. But you guys, welcome to subscribe to our channel. Hit the like button, share it. We're going to keep growing. If you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, drop us a 5-star review so we can keep growing on those platforms as well. We appreciate all the folks that listen out there. And I'm just going to see Wallace, man. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Wallace.
Lisa, appreciate you as always. Yes. Don't forget that email unless you've already sent it so I can get your shirt out to you. It's going to be a special year, Bobby. I'm feeling it, man.
Yes, Bobby.
I'm feeling it. Yeah, great. Hey, appreciate you, Jordan. Yeah,
Thank you, Jordan.
Y'all have a great night, man. Yeah, man, for sure.
Millie Mills. Thank you, man.
Who wins? The Falcons are winning our division, buddy. That's what's happening. Yeah, Falcons are winning our division.
Yeah, I think so. I just think they're the most stable team right now. Tampa Bay's in a state of flux. What's Dennis Allen doing at the Saints? They should have been better than they were last year. You got a new year of Frank Reich with a rookie quarterback.
Oh,
I mean, the team I think that is the most stable, I feel like the surest bet right now would be the Atlanta Falcons, and then probably the Saints, and then a toss-up between the Buccaneers and Panthers. So I think I'd edge it a little bit for the Falcons, and then the Saints number 2.
Mm-hmm. Bryce Young is food. You heard that from Millie Mills.
That's right.
I love it.
All right, guys. Look, y'all have a great week, man. Like I said, drop the subscribe button for us. Hit the like. I'm sorry. Subscribe. Hit the like button for us. See, I need food. It's 9:50. I haven't had dinner yet. See, that's what happens. So anyway, appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. We will see you next week. Probably back on Wednesday next week. Actually, you know what? We might do a show on Thursday this week.
On Thursday,
yeah. So we might do a show Thursday this week because we're going to training camp. So we might do a day 1 training camp show and come on, whoever
John
wants
is
to come on. And
delusional. At this point, he's
I
very,
really
very
am.
tired. He hasn't
I'm
had
very,
his
very
coffee.
tired. I got up. You know, our actual work is going crazy right now, so it's just, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but
I
we
just want to
appreciate.
thank everybody in the chat. We want to thank you again, Scott. Can y'all go subscribe to our TikTok, our Twitter, our YouTube, whatever the kids are doing now, Snapchat, but I don't know. Just go hit a button somewhere and do something. If it does this, hit it. I just know that much. Okay.
What did
I love you guys. Thank you.
What Arthur say? Snap face or whatever? Was that what Belichick that said that? Snap face. Yeah, go follow us on Snap face. Yeah, and make sure, hey, the guys y'all in there that's our typical viewers, make sure y'all check out Scott's channel or subscribe to him as well.
Please do.
Great content. Scott, tell everybody where they can find you before we hit this.
Yeah, you can hit me up at Scout Kennedy on Twitter X, or just go to youtube.com/Scott Kennedy if you want to find me. Both of those will work as well.
Love it. Mike, take us out, buddy.
We got to have you back on. We appreciate you, Scott. We appreciate the chat. Out of your Falcon mind. Peace.